that
Yeah.
bid before them. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how it
Yep.
works.
That's pretty cool. I mean, of course, if you win the bid, right? So I guess you know what you're taking on, right? Because when you're bidding, it's gonna show that calculation, right?
Say it again?
I would imagine in the UI it would show like the estimate or whatever that, whatever the next bid that you make, that gas fee on the previous bid is included in that. So I mean, I get what you're saying, but like that's gonna ratchet up like the bid ask, or
Yeah.
excuse me, the bid,
Well,
you know,
well, I
like
think, but you'll see it. But you'll see it when your wallet pops up. So when you confirm the transaction, you'll see how much it costs, right? Yeah.
I'm just saying that I don't think it's gonna be a problem in the sense that like, um, oh, I see what you mean because okay,
Yeah.
so like it's just like it's giving all this gas to the valid to ETH and validators, yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah. I guess kind of like the point I was making is that because like with gas being more expensive because of Zen, I don't think it's going to be nearly as cheap as we all hoped it would have been to throw a bid in. So it's just like a simple way of thinking. It's like I start the bid, you come over the top of me, I come over the top of you. So that's the second time so the second time I'm paying gas. Then we do the same thing. We have a bidding war. Who knows how much money is going to be spent just on one stake, you know? I'm sure it's not going to be crazy, but still it's like but that's kind of what I was getting to is that I might I might just end up just staking all of my Hedron now and just saying fuck it, like I'm not even gonna participate, and then I'll just still benefit anyway because it's a win-win situation. Like we'll still benefit anyway, even if we are staked and don't participate in the auction, because everything's going to be getting burned anyway. You know what I mean? So it's
You're-
it's a win-win.
Yeah, I don't think there's a loser, so to speak, in that sense, but it would be real difficult to make that decision and be like, oh dang, like whoa, I could have got T shares for like so much cheaper and potentially just thrown them right back in, you know, re-tokenized them, or would they be tokenized? I guess they would be tokenized. So then just,
They're
yeah,
already
just sell them.
tokenized. Yeah.
Yeah, sell them to the Icosa contract and um just continue that loop. Because there's some sort of arbing opportunity that you
Yeah.
calculated to be beneficial.
I just was expecting to be able to waltz in and just kind of bid as I wanted to, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing though. It's like there's so many. There's so many that's going to be coming up for auction. It's like it's almost like
Thousands.
yeah, it's a lot. So it's like the
Sure.
probability has to be in everyone's favor to at least get one. I'm thinking.
Even even, the value of, especially if there's like a multiplier and then there's like, that's what I want to try to get because I came to this game late. I don't have any 10x multipliers.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd really love to get one of those and then just have that as the value of like, okay, wow, look at this mintable hedron and look at this borrowable hedron as well, and the value in it, in that alone, just like once once the hedron price appreciates a lot, like that's going to be a lot more valuable too. Thinking like day two or day three, that's just kind of my intuition on that of like when s- some good deals start happening, but who knows what poly, the effect that they're gonna have, and like how they're actually gonna pull that off, and like what part of the market they're gonna potentially corner, and kind of maybe stay away from that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who they're going to be using as the executor to actually do the bidding on, because it is going to be a person who does the bidding. It's not an automated thing. So that person's, I think I have no idea who it actually is. But that person's going to have to just be aware of the, like, if he's paying too much, like if they're paying too much for the stake, so just so it doesn't overbid.
That's that's a lot of responsibility on potentially what, one person, or do you think would it be more than one?
Oh, I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's a team and if they have a spreadsheet all set up, right? And they're just working together to, make sure
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
and try to go for all the big ones first, right?
That makes sense. There's what, are there four? There's four Q shares available. Is that what I saw? Actually, four Q shares, and then the other day I saw two, or a screenshot of someone that showed the HSI watch list, and for some reason then there was only two. I'm like, wait a minute, I could have sworn there was four that had over 1,000 T shares, a Q
Do you have
share.
a website where that shows up?
Yeah, it's hsiwatch.com, I believe, or is it org? Shoot, I think it's .com. And yeah, just be ready to wait a while. I think I heard like yesterday or the day before that it wasn't like loading properly or something, but of course, Alex is gonna have the UI for the Icosa app before the
Yeah,
auctions.
I know Hamish was saying that it could take a long time, like 2 hours to load them all up. Um, and there's
Yeah, and they uh it won't show you any of them until they're all loaded up. And then once they're loaded up, like you have to scroll sideways, which is trippy, to like see where the multipliers are. And then the multipliers are like written super small, and I'm like, whoa, man, I really wish Alex didn't create a UI, because this is super difficult. Like, and
oh, so you did it.
yeah, and so like that's an opportunity to like, man, this is really difficult to like figure this out and like know how to just interact with it, because it just sucks. But like, yeah, they're there, and there's there's the multipliers, what I was looking for, the 10x and the 8x and the 2x's, and
What's, like, try to give me a rough guesstimate how many HSIs you think that had multipliers on them. I don't care if it's 10x and
yeah,
2x. I
yeah.
don't give a shit. Like, but
No,
how
that's a
many?
that's a freaking great question, Mango, because that was the whole reason for me doing it. I would say, because I scrolled up and down, I scrolled to the side and then down, and geez, it seemed like, I don't know how close I'm gonna get on this guess, but I'll just give it a try. 10%. But you have to understand, I just scrolled through the top. I didn't like go through them all. But in the larger T
Yeah,
share HSIs, I would say maybe 10%.
it's not bad. So over 500, we'll say an easy over 500 have at least some multiplier attached to it. That sounds pretty good.
I'd say maybe out of 50 I scrolled through, I saw, oh geez, yeah, maybe out of those 10. Hmm. Now I'm just trying to think like how many had the 10x and how many had the 2x. Yeah, I mean they're out there. I guess that's the important part. But
Yeah, yeah. Simple answer. They're out there. We'll see them.
I remember being in this chat hearing people talk about creating HSIs and claiming their multipliers and whatnot, and not really understanding it.
We've
And
we've
obviously,
come so far.
yeah, I know, and now we can connect all the dots, and I'm like, shit, that's what that guy meant.
Oh, you're ahead of me, man. I don't even have. Well, I guess I just staked Hex like a couple weeks ago.
Sweet, man. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I actually got in on the ETH proof of work chain and bought a bunch, and I was like, oh, let's try it here because it's like kind of worthless, right? So I went through the whole process, and I'm like, yeah, all right, I guess I should stake my Hex on the Ethereum chain then.
You got
Yeah.
No, I did all HSIs, so that way I can mint the Hedron and play around with that.
Cool, man. Cool.
You can mint Hedron from the natives as well, but you definitely have more options with the HSI.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, move it to different wallets and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. I like that. So I actually bought Hedron before I bought. Well, I guess I bought Hex first, and then I bought Hedron. So I bought in the first big dip. I kind of bought at the bottom of that, and then on the other side of that big run up and then down, I bought back at the same level, and then it went really down. I'm like, oh, I just wish I bought again.
man. Yeah, such as trading. It's really hard to call, to know what's gonna happen with the
Yeah,
chart.
I had my finger at like $200 for a billion Hedron. Something like that. It was pretty close. I'm like, good grief. I think it was like 980 million or something. I'm like, that's a lot of Hedron. Maybe I should buy something for $200. And I didn't.
Dang. Yeah. Now, okay, so here's my dilemma. I've been staked for a bit in Hex, and I got into Hedron maybe a month and a half ago. And I couldn't put it down, like I just had to learn everything about it, and just now feeling satiated to like know the system kind of inside and out. But like, I came to the realization a few weeks ago where I was like, I'm never gonna make a Hex stake ever again that isn't a Quattro Cinco. And I just wonder how long it's going to take for the majority of new Hex stakes to follow suit.
Oh yeah, I'm already hooked on that.
I got a quick
That
question
went
for
Pete.
y'all. I tokenized my HSI, and now I could sell it. Should I wait to sell, or can I sell it immediately?
Well, you can sell whenever you want. Yeah, like that was just kind of like a step thing I did. Like when I created my HSI, tokenized it, but then I just immediately sold it to the Icosa contract. But that's just that's a personal decision. Like if you want Icosa to stake Icosa, like you can just hold on to your HSI as long as you want, or you can sell it to the Icosa contract for Icosa whenever you want.
The nice thing about being
Okay,
able
so
to,
it won't change the value if I like sell it now or I wait. It's just gonna be tokenized forever then, or
Yeah, tokenizing it just allows it. Tokenizing it just turns into NFT, which allows you to, send it to another wallet or put it on OpenSea to sell and stuff like that. Yeah, it doesn't change the value at all.
okay, so it's not like the WhatsApp NFTs because I made two
No, no,
with
no,
those two.
no. Well, in a sense, it is a wrap stake, but it's not. It's not. It's nowhere. Nothing like this. The same like mechanics or anything like that.
Okay, yeah, I got an Icosa stake for 180 days, and I got a Hedron stake for 90 days. So I'll just keep it like this because if I restake, it will go back up to 180 days. So
Oh, so you are talking about stake in Icosa or Hedron.
yeah, I bought Hedron when it was low, like almost 2 billion, and I staked it for Icosa, and I staked a little bit of Icosa in the beginning. So I have that 10% yield on the Icosa, and I have 5% on the Hedron. And the Hedron is almost ending now. I think it was 14 November it ends, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome, man. Yeah, this is all just exciting stuff. It's amazing.
And of course, I got my hex stakes times 10 multiplier. That's still going on now. So I'm excited for the bull run, really.
That's gonna be I mean, the bull run in a sense has already started for Hedron because we're up what? I think we're up 4x right now from day one on Hedron, and it obviously had that big pullback. Well, it had kind of like a big pullback first week, right? And then we went up a few weeks a lot, and then we had a huge pullback, right? The big dump. And then now we've been just like 25x from the bottom. Is that where we're at right now? Is amazing. It's like Hedron's it's in like it's already started its bull run. It's pretty amazing actually. And yeah, there's a good chance, in my opinion, that we're gonna front run the whole market. We'll front run Hex. And yeah, we'll be we're not the shining city on the hill. That's what Hex is, but we're like the castle, the top of the castle in the shining city on the hill.
And if the bull run starts for a hex, then the ceiling price will go up for Hedron also. I saw a chart when it goes to like $1. Hedron could go to 10117 or something.
I don't know. I mean, that sounds plausible. I'm just trying to think the numbers. The one that I get really excited about is like if Hex, what is it? If it win Hex $20, Hedron 1 penny.
Yeah, I think it's I think like Solix
That would be
and
amazing.
how much have that stuff mapped out. It's like the ceiling prices. If it's like if Hex is $1, Icosa could be this, or stuff like that.
I heard Alex talk what he said in a video live stream or something about win Hex $20, Hedron 1 penny. Have you heard that?
Yeah, all those moon numbers are amazing.
When it's
But
one
I'm
penny,
picking
It's
it's
you all
more
in
game
than
the
over,
moon
mate.
math though, because it's like literally like what they're saying is like if Hex is $20, then just due to the ARB opportunity, um, if there wasn't any ARB opportunity, right? Which if there is, it'll go away quickly because people will do it and it'll
Yeah,
like bring it up, then like so yeah, it just seems I know it seems crazy, but like because it
yeah. I
would
think
be
I'm more so say the moon math thing to just talk about like Hex at $20. Like that
oh
alone is like a moon thing, which is awesome. I love it. But still, it's like,
yeah, I
who
mean
knows.
I suppose it's moon math, but I don't know. In my mind, it's not just simply because like Hex is so much better than Bitcoin,
Oh
and
yeah, I agree.
it's the
Don't get me wrong, I
best.
agree.
Yeah, it's the best store of value, and I think that just like this crazy storm that has happened with DeFi, like it's just I just think that Like if I had one of those magic 8 balls, I grew up in the 80s, and like and I shook it and I looked through the window, like the little thing would be like all signs point to yes. Like I just I don't I just I mean, I should write it all down, just like the list of all the bullish aspects of it, because it really is. It's like it's a huge fucking list. Like all the things that are validating the probability of this, of $20 to be a reality for Hex. I think it's gonna be like $54 actually. And by the
$54.
end
Damn.
of the next bull
Imagine that.
market, so
Jesus.
like end of 2025. If Bitcoin could do it, Hex will do it. Bitcoin, in its first bull run, Hex outdid it there for a minute, and I just don't see any reason. I don't see any slowing down for Hex, and like, sure, the price is down. Well, that's because liquidity has provided it to stay down for that amount of time. So, um, there would be a discount, and for the sell pressure, right? Like, I think it promoted weak hands to dump harder, actually, to get those weak hands that had Hex to dump when the price was down.
It's like the
That
worst
really
thing.
just kind
Yeah, it's like the worst thing you do is like, unless it's an absolute emergency, is to sell at like a huge loss or an emergency end stake. Unless it's like an insane amount of gains you've made to where it's totally irrelevant. But like nuking something for like, half of your money or the interest or something like that, like it's, I don't know, like I can't imagine the amount of gains that had to be made for people to EES some of the stakes I see being done. It's like, holy shit.
of, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I agree with you. That's the beauty of just the OA protection model that that Hex has proven to be the most valuable way to protect price. Maybe protect isn't the right word, but uh to hmm, to ensure the longevity of the project, I suppose. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. I hmm, I just the more I go like remind myself of all the things that I've learned through Hex and kind of revisit them, the more I'm just like I always circle back around to just like holy shit, this is the real fucking deal. Like uh, I,
Yeah.
I was so
And
sad when I was like so late to Bitcoin, to like realizing what had happened, and like because I felt like I missed out. Well, I don't feel that way anymore. Like I feel like I found the next Bitcoin, basically. It's gonna
yeah,
outperform Bitcoin in the long run. It'll do over a million. What is it? A million X?
yeah. Something I think that almost kind of needs to happen, which shouldn't happen, but is like, but we're definitely going to see it. Is besides from like the scam coins and stuff that will be coming out when Pulsar launches, and on the next bull run, people are going to get burned. But I think there needs to be, doesn't need. I'm sorry. I think there's going to be a bunch of more hacks that happened on centralized entities And then either will happen. That's when regulatory bodies will start coming hardcore onto crypto, or that's when kind of like the public will kind of wake up and realize that you need to take your money into your own hands. And Richard will be there still screaming at them that I've been telling you this the whole time. It's like, you haven't been listening to me this whole time. I've been telling you all of these things, and you people continue to keep getting yourselves wrecked. And he's screaming about it. So I think there needs to be a good couple more hacks. Hundreds of millions, no, hundreds of millions of billion of dollars need to get stolen again and again. And maybe at some point, the people involved in crypto, the users, the consumers, will realize, like, what am I doing wrong here? And then hopefully Richard will still be there, and will be there. The Hexings will be there. We'll be there yelling at them, saying, "You stupid fuck, come over here. We'll show you."
You stupid fuck. I could see it now. That could be the name of the YouTube video.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
yeah. But I'm serious though too. Like, I'm not even joking really, because you have people who love Richard, who hate him, and all everywhere in between of those two things. You know, and he's so smart. Like, and his philosophy on crypto is so pure. I don't like his whole lifestyle shit that he does, but his whole philosophy on crypto is amazing. So it's like, if people just focus on the words coming out of his mouth, and if you like Louis Vuitton, like, it's awesome, but it's like, just try to, please just try to listen to it, the words he's actually saying.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. The code stands alone, though, honestly. Like, the hex code, unchangeable,
Oh God, yeah, and it proved it already too. Like, look what happened when ETH PAL and ETH Fair launched.
Really?
Immediately, as soon as Richard, as soon as Alex pointed his front end to go to those networks, immediately we were able to trade and do everything we wanted to with Hex natively and with HSIs. Like, that's huge. Like, that's huge. Obviously, it didn't get the press that we wanted it to.
That's a good point.
The ETH PAL guys, yeah, the ETH PAL guys recognized it because we were the main trading volume and shit going on there. But it would have been nice if we got more publicity out of that, because it was literally, I think it was less than 24 hours that Alex pointed the front end on those networks, and we were using everything.
Yeah, it really proved that fucking Mexicans rule.
Yeah, we had like the top 10 spots, right, on the dexes for trades.
Oh yeah. And now on the PAL swap, I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it since last week, so I might be talking shit here. But on PAL swap, they have a lot of pairs with PAL itself, and the farming bonuses are good. I know Tangent, who runs the Ethereum Hex son of a bitch, can't talk, Hex proof of work chat for Telegram. He's always talking about the farming rewards have actually been pretty good on PAL swap.
Yeah, in fact, that's like one of the only places, right, to really trade it, because I put a little bit of liquidity on what is it, the LFG swap, the Puffy swap, and the Uni W swap, just to play around on that chain.
I don't know. I know Kyber swap. I wasn't sure if they're still going to be support ETH PAL, because I know the guy. I don't know if he's a spokesman for Kyber swap. This Asian dude. He was on a stream, I think, with KG from Internet Money, KG, and he said they weren't planning on supporting after a month. So it seems like it's been like a month already since they launched, but I'm not sure if they're gonna still fully support it. Because KyberSwap was amazing. I liked using KyberSwap a lot. Because you actually get to see where the routings and how the routings went, like live, like it showed you exactly how it was going to route it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was the first ones I
Yeah.
used, and I loved it. And I was sad to see
Yeah.
the banner. Hey, we're not supporting this, so use it quick. And it's like crap, because it was really nice with the routing. So, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't figured out what swap to use yet, really.
Imagine how easy a Pulse X is going to be compared to navigating all that bullshit.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, it all turns out great. Hopefully, it turns out great. It is easy to use too. I haven't played around in a very long time, but I was using it a lot when it first came out.
Yeah, with all the delays, hopefully they have all the V3 liquidity providing available, right, from Uniswap.
Yeah, because I think that's up at the end of this month. I think it is, right? I think it was like the end of October.
Yeah, I've heard conflicting people saying it was done in October and other people saying it was in like March or something.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I don't know what to believe.
Yeah, I remember hearing it from Rich and from other. Yeah, I guess who knows? October, never it's a couple months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone tell me it was May, and I was like, what? Oh, shit. May?
Mid-May.
Oh, was it mid-May? But you know what? Even
Yeah, mid-May.
Yeah, but even if we launch in February, March, right? That's pretty quick. And they're going to put that in like right away, I'll bet.
I don't know, dude. We'll see. We'll see when it gets launched.
Somehow,
Long time away.
I think Executioner V3 already works through the app, through the Icosa app, for like we could use that front end for Uniswap or something. I didn't quite understand, but like, so
Yeah.
I think what he's saying is that like the liquidity providers that wanted to provide in a V3 way could still provide it prior to the licensing agreement,
Yeah, because they're not because Richard's it's the whole forking thing. So it's like as long as you're still actually routing through V3, Uni V3, that's not a problem. It's just when you actually fork Uniswap V3, that's when it becomes a legal issue. When you're actually forking it when you're actually forking it as opposed to creating a front end for it.
So essentially it makes it to where the liquidity providers that want to use V3 can do it that way, but anyone that would want to do it V2, which would be a lot of the like newcomers and people that maybe have big PulseX bags that just want to try out liquidity providing for the first time, it's less risky, right, to provide in a balanced 50-50 way that V2 has.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty involved, right? But if you want to see the front end for that, it's uniswap.hedron.pro.
Yeah, that's I usually use or I was using his front end. And then same thing too. The front end was working for on Ethereum PAL, and then for ETH Fair, it was a different one. I have it saved. It was a different one. for pulling liquidity, because you can add liquidity on those ones for eFair on Hydro.pro, but you couldn't pull it. So I was had to fish around, and there was like I think it's like old dot something. It's I forgot the name of it, but it's like you couldn't pull from those ones, but you could add to it.
Yeah, I've got a
Remember
lot
hearing.
left on Ethereum Fair. I just did better with the Ethereum proof of work, and then I threw a couple $100 in there. There's Ethereum
We're
Fair. I just got.
navigational experts.
Open video chat.
Yeah, someone's camera's on.
Good choice.
It was funny when FreePulse.io first came out, when he started doing his interviews. He was live streaming with somebody. I don't remember who it was, but he was just talking about how they don't want their faces to be shown, OPSEC, yada yada. And the one fucking guy, he hit the button on his camera, and the phone was pointing right at his face, so his face came right up on the screen. It was hilarious.
Oh no. Oh.
I screenshotted it real quick just so maybe in the future I can blackmail him.
Yeah, that's Victor, and I forget the other guy.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a huge success when Pulse launches.
Dude, I hope so, because I sacked for that. So, well, I guess I haven't sacked, but I, pre-sacked or whatever with the Magic Carpet Ride guys.
Yeah, that's right. Because the actual official stack doesn't start until Pulse launches.
Yeah.
Good day, guys. How's it going?
All right.
Just starting my day this side of the world. Just dropped in to say hello. Mango Junkie, haven't heard you in a while, man. Hope all is well with you and everybody else.
Yeah, man, doing good. I haven't seen him, but yeah.
Most definitely. I think I saw you the other day over at one of the Zen groups. I meant to say hi, but it was busy.
Oh, that's funny. Speaking of Zen, I think it was Johnny Chaos. Johnny Chaos posted this article about the first like 21 Googlers that was written a while ago, and like Jack's name wasn't on there, but then there was other people in the comments section like defending it, and they posted other articles where Jack was actually talked about in the articles. Thought that was creepy though. It was weird to see like it was like an article and Jack wasn't in it talking about the first 21 Googlers.
Oh shit! I saw his video. You see the one where he puts the wig on and he pretends to be Jack?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's hilarious. He's all about the makeup and Halloween. Like he does it for a living. But yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, I just Yeah, he's just full on attack. I love it, man, because it really is just. I mean, listen, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're a maximalist," and it's like a disease or some shit. Like just because you just have to attack like anything that isn't hex, you know? It's like, no, it's it's like I mean, I get why people say that, but like that's not it. It's like we're citing Johnny cites like real problems and K for K does too. And yeah, it's an interesting window into the psychology of huh, I suppose like reasoning or is it rationalizing? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's not that big of a deal though. It's like it's just like all the other things that like even all the stuff that like we've sacked for or have not sacked for. It's like everyone gets pissed, all once, and then everyone relaxes after like a couple weeks, and then it's not really too big of a deal. You know what I mean? I'm hoping the same thing happens with Zen, is that people just relax, after a little while, because it's like
I mean,
I love it. Like I like the coin by itself, like what it like stands for. I'm more so just pissed off about Jack himself talking shit about Richard. But the whole idea of the coin and just minting free coins to learn, I love that. I really do love that. And I understand the arguments against that. I understand them. But just as like a simple thing, like even Jexa, with the Australian guy, Jexa had a good argument for why it's bad, for why it's free, but you're just paying for gas. And his argument, to put it in few words, was how if you're going to teach someone with free coins that's going to dump forever, it's almost kind of like I forgot kind of the analogy that he gave. He gave an analogy, and he's saying, why not onboard them into Hex and try to forget about the cost of the gas, because that was like him and Blue Bum were going back and forth with each other, and it was actually a heated discussion. It was very exciting. And it all basically came down to Blue Bum was just making a point of how you're just spending gas. And then their point, the counter argument was how, but you're not you're not teaching them about anything about value and the value of why you should be learning to be using these things, which I understand.
I don't see any real product market fit. That was the big thing for me. And again, I just always default back to, is it a function of money? You know, is it solving
Yeah.
is it solving that most important problem that crypto was invented for?
Question is, could have there been methods to avoid or put roadblocks for all the people who wanted to bot hard? So I don't know if there could be like multiple captures or something like that, but if there was some methods or measures taken into consideration for stopping the ability for people to bot without limits, that
Yeah.
could have been a little bit.
Especially with captures, like that would have been huge. Then you could really tout it being a fair launch. And so I forgot what I was on. Maybe I was on a new exchange or something. I was on a new exchange or something, and I was actually really impressed with their captions. Like the capture was almost kind of like it was like it's like you had to be a human to do it. Like it wasn't a simple like pick out like this picture. It was asking like differentiating questions. It was like what's the main difference between this picture and that picture? Or you had to pick like a group of 6 pictures that had similar items, but one was obviously kind of different. But you actually had to look at them and actually figure it out. Like it was pretty interesting.
You need to put like 10 captures in a row. Just put 10 in a row, different captures. And then then it would be like considered a fair launch in my opinion, because people who don't have ability to, who don't even know how a bot functions, they're always going to be at a disadvantage. And right now somebody owns a huge portion of the supply, and who is it?
Yeah.
So eventually, like if Zen becomes something or starts having some value, you're still gonna have this weird entity that you don't know anything about that's just gonna be selling forever. They're gonna be majority holders, so it's not really fair. I mean, it is fair from the perspective of if you have money and you join a project and you put in a lot, of course you're gonna, a lot has to be allocated to you because you believed in the beginning, you put in your money, and so you're gonna have a big portion of the pie. That's fine. But to have this weird bot function and then not even taking a single measure in order to counter it, it's just weird. I had 250 wallets ready, but when it launched, I only claimed one, and then I just canceled the
That's
next
fun.
one.
Did you have a bot set up?
No, I was doing it the
Yeah.
human way.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up doing more than that, but not. I personally wanted to do a minimum of 100 on Ethereum, but I did nowhere near that. And I got two, like the first like the first seconds that it actually launched. So I actually got two of my wallets are like under 1,000 the C rank for them. But then the gas was nuts, so I just stopped for a while. Then I went back later on where it was still outrageous. I was still paying like $5 to $8 a wallet, and then I was like, yeah, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Hey, but in
I know
regards
you guys.
to
I know you guys aren't talking about Zen in an Icosa chat room. I know that's not happening.
No, definitely
We
not,
just
definitely
started
not.
to, like, literally just for right before you got in, Joa.
No, Rich, we weren't, Rich, right? No, we weren't. What do you say,
Proud
Andromeda?
that we haven't been
Andromeda, what do you
talking
say?
about it very long. Like, literally, I've been in this room for like 5 hours, and literally we talked about it now for 5 minutes. So I'm really happy. But yeah, we
so
could
I
go
was
in
gonna
circles.
Mango Junkie and Rich, I guess. I don't know if you guys heard, but Jack mentioned the other day. I've listened to a couple of his Twitter Spaces, and they're working on a special on a contract that would actually do the heavy lifting, where you can actually mint multiple wallets, I guess, at once. So that's kind of helpful, I think, for those who want to mint more than
Yeah,
one wallet.
yeah, but the problem is that it just raised gas so much. And even like there are bots, there's free bots you can use right now that are floating around. Actually, if you don't have to search hard, there's actually free bots already that are out to use them. But yeah, I get it. But it just kind of like a dud. It was like, oh man, like this kind of sucks.
I personally, I personally didn't touch it because I was in an AMA, and I was one of the first people to ask Jack a question, and my question was like, yeah, can't you just like make more than one wallet? How is that fair? And he just like he brushed over the answer so quickly and moved on so quickly that I was just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I also asked him this, and he kept redirecting the conversation. So, oh, but you got to pay more gas fees. You got to pay more gas fees. He kept talking about gas fees. Whatever, man. I just think there's a lot of snakes in the grass over there.
Yeah, big time. I'm not into it. I don't it's I'm proud of the Hexagon community and how we dealt with it actually, and I don't think, you know, people went too far anyway at all. Like, um, I like K for K's analogy of like, oh, this is inflation bug 2.0 coin.
Yeah, hexahedron Icosa. This is where it's at, and everything that gets built upon this. You really don't need anything else.
It's true. It solves, I mean, it solves the function of money. It's the savings account and the checking account in crypto. Done. Has anyone seen whales only come in this chat? Has he ever come into these chats before?
He's came into the Hedron chat. I don't think I've ever seen him come into this one since Icosa became a thing. I don't think I've ever seen him in the Icosa.
The in chat rooms, similar persona.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have him to thank for getting into Hedron actually, and becoming a full-fledged Hexican.
Yeah, man. He knows what he's talking about.
A lot of people, like I've had friends who aren't quite Hexicans. They're like on the fence or something. I don't know what's going on with them, but they've listened to Whales and their complaint would be like, "Oh, he talks about the same old thing." But it's like, I suppose, I mean, you could look at it that way, like, but and they said like, "Oh, he says the same thing over and over," but it's like, but it needs to be said. It's like the really important part, which is like, what's the implication? What does this mean? What's this? What's the implication of Hex and the T-share system? Like I I I couldn't get enough of what he was saying actually. So um yeah, he uh
Yeah.
he he literally just
It's just.
barely talked about Hedron, that it was a good buy, and I looked into it and I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know about this. What is this?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's not for everybody. Just like any like other streamers too. It's like it's like a personality thing, It's like if you're not a fan of
Exactly.
somebody, you're not really gonna. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate his backed out perspective, he really sees the bigger picture and the implications. And yeah, man, geez, this community is so diverse and it's so wonderful that we have, many different, a lot of people out there, right, spreading the word, and that's needed for all the different types of uh personalities.
Yeah, that's actually kind of like another little talking point you can even go on if you wanted to. Like if you were trying to sell somebody on something, if you're trying to really sell someone on Hex and they're just not getting it or they're not like, agreeing with it, it's like that's just like another talking point you can put in there is literally like how diverse the Hexicans are. Like worldwide, all shapes, forms, sizes, and colors. All different accents. It's like it's cool. It's cool.
And even out of this world, like me.
Yeah, Andromeda. It's like it's
Which
like it basically really represents what true DeFi is. Like it doesn't matter. It's like it doesn't even matter where you are or what you are.
Yeah, that's so true. um yeah, it's that the common thread that we all share, um that obviously doesn't, what's the word, discriminate against any difference, because we have it all. Even the hot, like, fucking the hot Twitter girls. Have you seen them, those Mexicans?
Yeah, yeah. There's more than a few. There's more than a few. I remember somebody tweeted something out, and in the comment section, some of the chicks were commenting, and then there was like haters in the comments saying like, "Oh, all these girls are paid shills and stuff like that." It's like, dude, no, they're really not. Nobody pays anybody here.
Yeah, there's yeah, we're well.
So I know this is a topic that's probably been talked about in here before, but I haven't been in this group before. But has anybody taken the time to sit down and honestly think about, how Icosa's tracking with Hex, and if Hex in this next bull run does 100x, is Icosa going to keep pace? I can't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like I don't have it written down, but I know there's a couple guys in here that have like their model set up, like their spreadsheet set up for if Hex is this price, Icosa should be this price as long as it keeps tracking along with the share rate. Um, I'm not sure. I know Hamish and Solix have those actual written down. They're not in here right now, but if you jump back in throughout the day, if Solix is here, Solyx, or Hamish, Hamish, they're the guys you got to ask about that because they have it actually written down.
Well, just given the nature of Icosa and how you get it through the HSI stakes and how closely it's been tracking with Hex, I don't see any logical reason why it wouldn't stay in that kind of same bandwidth, because that creates a great, arbitrage opportunity. And so those prices are going to have to stay together because people are going to take tabs on that and pay attention to that. And adding in the fact that this first year with Icosa, the yield's greater than it will be in the future because of all the previous burn or the previous hedron that's being added to these stakes or added to our yield as we're going through them. I've been tracking my three wallets that I've got different Icosa and hedron time limits on, and just looking at the numbers that I'm getting, and I'm like, man, if this shit does 100x, life is gonna be sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
Executioner is in here. Executioner is in here. I think he has some napkin math, hopium numbers he could spit out. If he wanted to talk, which obviously he doesn't.
Well, I've been kind of doing the spreadsheet, just tracking, my yield each day for both Hedron and Icosa across my three wallets, and kind of tracking the numbers and see where it's going and where we've leveled at. I think we've leveled out now pretty good for like the last 15 to 20 days, and it's an estimate on kind of what yield I'm getting per day off of these stakes. And yeah, if I don't sell any of this stuff and just keep compounding it, and we get to 100x, then this night job is going to go bye bye.
Yeah, dude. I'm actually leaving third shift right now. I'm driving home. Same here.
Yeah, the only caveat I'd add to that is if it's if it happens for you, then it happens for everybody, right? And everybody thinks the same way. So then you got dumps too. So like it never goes up in a straight line. Uh, yeah. Also, like, okay, so is Icosa gonna track with Hex's price, or would it only track with the T share? Like I think the T-shirt goes up a little slower than price, right? So it may not be as parabolic as you think. I don't know.
But I think that's where the argument comes into where that's where the main arbitrage is to be had is when those price starts diverting from each other. That's when those arbitrage opportunities come in. Hex to Icosa, Icosa to Hex, vice versa. Or same thing with uh, buying Hex to do Quattro Cinco, sell it to the Icosa contract. There's an arbitrage there. There's a point where it's more beneficial to just buy Hex and create and go through the Icosa contract as opposed, or also there's where it's cheaper to just buy the Icosa as opposed to creating the HSIs and selling it to the contract.
Yeah, and that's the arbitration point I'm talking about. But even if it just tracks the T-share rate, it's still gonna have to go up in price because the T-shares are gonna get more and more expensive to get. So it may not keep the same correlation to Hex, but even if it does, a 50x and Hex does 100x, if it does half of that, that's still mad crazy gains for just sitting back and watching the numbers continue to roll up. It's
Yeah.
just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, I think the one number I remember was that they're saying like if when Hex is $1, Icosa should be $30.
I'm down with that. Let's get there.
Yeah, it does. Hey, watching it run up to 56 cents, 55 cents that fast, it's nowhere near out of the realm of possibility. To a dollar's nothing in my mind.
I know somebody's probably done some napkin math on this, and I'm not technical or probably smart enough to figure that out. But has anybody kind of figured out what the yield, how much the yield is going to drop off after we get through this first year?
That's a good one to ask.
I mean, it all depends on what a whale would do, what Polly's doing. Like it's. I would assume it's going to go down, but who knows, really?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. Now, one question that I haven't asked because I don't have a lot of time to jump on these is when we go through this first set of HSI auctions and people buy the HSI stakes. Now then do they have all that remaining mintable hedron again that they can then turn into Icosa, or is that stake already spent its mintable hedron and that's the end of it?
No, I'm pretty sure it goes back because that's the whole part. That's the whole reason to bid on it. It's like when you're bidding on it and you win it, that's paying for what was borrowed. No, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Okay, but does that create
Exactly.
so does that in turn create a loop where because people would bid on it and say it goes for just for theory's sake it goes for the minimum price, so a one T-share stake is going to go for the 5,555 or 5,555,000 hedron. So that hedron gets burned and put in the Icosa pool and the hedron pool, and then they can then turn around and borrow that same amount of hedron back. So does hedron, of course, people are going to pay more for the HSIs, but is that the only way that it's deflationary? Is they're paying more for the HSI than they're getting back in the hedron?
Yeah, that's out of my wheelhouse. I wish Solix was here.
Yeah, I mean, there is a loop. There's two loops, isn't there? There's the loop where you can also just recreate HSIs over and over and get Icosa for it, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's not really a loop though. But I think the loop he's talking about is like once you win the bid and you get the HSI, yes, you can send it right back through the Icosa contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I've heard a lot of guys talk about how over time hedron will become deflationary, especially once all of those, 10x bonus stakes start getting closed out, and there's less and less of those over time. But I think we're actually going to be quite a few years down the road before we ever get to that point. Because, like I said, we just keep recycling the hedron, and there will be some deflationary because people are probably going to end up paying more hedron for an HSI stake than they're going to get hedron back by selling it back into the contract. So you will have some stuff that gets burnt over time and put back in the yield pool. I just don't understand with the number of hedron that's out there how that little bit is going to truly be deflationary on a scale that's going to help affect the price and drive the rarity of the token up and help, add that pumpamental to raise the price up as well. So I got to do a little more digging into it. If I get a better idea on, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, it's like what I don't think technically it'll ever be truly deflationary. It'll be disinflationary, just like the share rate, just like Hex. Like it'll always inflate, but over time it disinflates. It just inflates slower.
All
I
right, that
mean,
makes a little more sense.
under the assumption that every time you go win a stake in HSI that you're going to borrow every time. Like I think, when you go win a stake and it burns all that hedron and you see that hedron going up, it might incentivize people to not borrow on their hedron anymore. Maybe they'd mint a little and sell a little, but like I honestly, I think not a lot of people are really gonna just keep trying to do these loops, and they'll be more incentivized to snag up a bunch of HSIs and just hold them and keep the borrowable on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's something I hadn't thought about either. Because I'm a compounder guy, so I'm trying to figure out ways on how to compound and get my bags bigger and bigger all the time. So that's the direction I think. And I'm also a long term guy, so I'm not looking to make $1 million in this next bull run over the next 2 years and then get out of crypto altogether. Because I want stupid money. I just don't want fun money.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we all want to compound, right? And I think the best path to compound is probably using the staking mechanisms as opposed to um, trying to game the HSI buying winning auctions, and because you're gonna lose a little every time. I don't think you're gonna. I mean, you're automatically gonna lose a little hedron trying to do that. I think so.
Yeah. Hey, Hamish just came in the room. Hey, Hamish, this guy's got a couple questions. We're hoping that you'd be able to answer. Were you available to speak right now?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Hey, Hamish, man, how you doing? I just a kind of a quick question. One of the things that I was wondering about is, with Icosa tracking along with the price of Hex right now and how they're kind of correlated. As Hex goes up, I don't know if you've looked in this or not, but is Icosa going to stay as closely correlated with the Hex price now or in the future as it is now, or is that going to spread apart a little bit?
So it's meant to correlate with a ratio based on the HT share rate. So as the HT share rate increases, one Icosa is worth more hex. I think from memory it's worth 34 hex at the moment, or should be. And so if it's worth less, there's an arbitrage opportunity. But the USD value might not be the same. Yeah, if that makes sense. But it keeps that ratio, but not the USD, because if people are suddenly getting a lot more Icosa, they could dump the Icosa, and that would destroy the USD value on it, and then people will stop doing exercise and then buy Icosa essentially, and then bring it back up like it did the other day. But
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I think it was Jawa that said it a minute ago that, the T-share rate goes up. It's a slower climb than potentially the price of Hex. So we are going to get a bigger spread.
yeah, so Icosa's like disinflationary with as the T-share rate goes up, it's harder to earn Icosa because that's the hedron that gets burnt divided by the hex T-share rate. So as the hex T-share rate increases, the Icosa payouts less.
All right, that makes sense. And then the other question I had is have you done any kind of napkin math or anything to kind of pick a future projection that if we get through this first year, we've got kind of the added bonus of all the previous hedron that was burned, that's add back into the yield. Um, any guesstimates on kind of like what percentage drop we're going to see in yield after that, or is it just too many unknowns?
So like you're not getting too impacted by the your yield at the moment, even if like a Godwell comes in. I think that you're getting about, what is it, 3% a day from the hedron staking and about like 1% in the Watson at the moment. So I'm kind of like tracking that on a scatter plot to determine like the relationship between your time against the percentage return in Icosa. And so right now it's only the seeded SA burns yield that we're really getting at the moment. So when the liquidations happen, yeah, the yield will be kind of like a lot more from that pool, because right now the pools are only paying about 41,000 Icosa each, and so the pools are going to be in the hundreds of thousands instead of 41,000. Yeah, and then it's passing the 41,000 as well. So a squid will be probably earning at least 30 Icosa a day.
Right. Do we know how many? Because the first year we're like I said, we're in kind of that bonus year, right?
So right now, if a squid's got, yeah, a squid would be earning about like 3 or 2 or something Icosa a day, and then if they've got like 1 bill points or just under, they'll be earning about 2 Icosa. So yeah, you'll be earning like probably about 20 or 30 Icosa each from the Watson and the thing.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for the info, man.
And then, hey Hamish, well, I know you had it written down too. It was like, what was some of those like projections you say, like what like the price between Hex and Icosa, like if Hex is $1, what was it like estimating that Icosa should be $30 and so on and so forth?
Yeah, okay. I'll just pop my laptop back on and have a look. So like if next year the T-share rate's projected to be about like is it 35,000 hex? So that means that one Icosa will be like about 55 hex instead of like 34 at the moment. Oh, yep. So if the hex T-share rate is 35,000, one Icosa is worth 66 hex, that ratio, regardless of the price. And then at that point, if hex is still 3 cents, then a Icosa will be worth 2.19. If hex is 10 cents, it will be worth $7.42. Yeah. So if hex is 10 cents at the moment, Icosa will be worth $3.41.
And that's at current T-share rate. That's at the current T-share price.
Yeah, that's the current
price rate.
Yeah, but it always keeps the ratio of 33. So at $50, hex will have to be worth $1.47. And then that means the Icosa is worth $50, and but you're still one Icosa is worth 33 hex at that point. It always keeps that ratio, but not necessarily the USD price. It could either, yeah.
Cool.
Man, that just sent me down a whole new rabbit hole of math I'm going to have to do tomorrow night on night shift.
I think the important takeaway is that Hex needs to do well. And yeah, I mean, like, I'm not worried about Hedron and Icosa other than the vector of Hex not doing well. And because there's just so much FUD out there. And it's like, god dang, it's fucking ridiculous. And like, I don't care what anybody says. Icosa and Hedron is net positive for Hex, and I have yet to see any other besides maybe Maxi. Um, and I'm still on the fence on that, but like fucking Pulse Dogecoin. How does that help Hex? How does any of this other shit help Hex? I just fucking don't get it. It's fucking. We gotta really go back to our roots. I think now that Icosa and Hedron is running and it's great and it's awesome, it really needs. I know I'm gonna just start building my hex bags back up and just like creating HSIs. Like that's my goal right now.
Yeah, whoever sold their positions in Hex and Hedron in order to buy a Pulse Doge or whatever, the price will leave them behind, and they're not gonna have a chance to react. They will take that. They will eat the loss, and then they will sleep with regret.
Yeah, it's just disappointing because I don't care how good his little white paper and code is. Like that's great, good. You have a good code, okay, yeah, better than Doge. You're a Pulse Doge because apparently that was just copy pasta crap code, from what I heard. But like, eh, I'm sick of it. I just want Hex to do well because like Hedron and Icosa are dependent on Hex doing good. or at least succeeding. So yeah. It's kind of like the way I look at it as an analogy is like, okay, you live in a nice free red state in the United States, and everything's good for you at the moment. But if you let your whole country go to shit, well, your little state isn't gonna thrive. It isn't gonna do, and it may end up going to shit eventually anyway. So like, you got to take care of your whole country first, I guess. I know it's a bad analogy, but
No, I get your point. I understand your concern. It's very valid. I just don't think that it's gonna go to shit because of it. But I definitely believe that it's chipping away from the potential.
So, Kismet, haven't talked to you in a while. I would love to hear some new updates and perspectives of yours on the things that are going on over there.
I mean, it's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good because the the majority of I mean, everybody is involved in this conflict one way or another. This war is being completely financed by the West, but the East, like China and India, no, I'm sorry, China and Iran, for example, they know that if Russia loses this conflict, they're next on the chopping block, dude. So they're gonna do everything to make sure that Russia does not lose. And I mean, it's just everybody is involved at this point. And where is the red line? I don't know. It looks like the West is gonna fight till the last Ukrainian. That's for sure.
what do you make of all the videos that come out of like these? It's like propaganda. You could see how they're filming these soldiers running. It's acting, right? You see these soldiers running out of buildings, all geared up, and like I just don't know, man. I think it's a big show. I'm not saying there's not conflict, but I'm saying like that we see what they want us to see, right? And probably Russians see what the Russians want them to see. And it's like, man, elections come, and then whatever Republican that wins saves the day and ends the conflict, and all is well. And then they push some other agenda somewhere else, and it's like, I feel like it's just one big show for all to see, at the expense of death and destruction of people that live in these conflict areas. And it's like, I just don't buy any of the shit, and I just want people to like stand up to their governments already. Everyone, fucking Hong Kong, we're doing it with bricks and fucking, you know, we let them down. Really, what could we do? Right? We're Americans. We live way the fuck over here. How are we gonna help the Hong Kong people? And we just like, you get little tidbits of information here and there, and you're like, oh, those poor people. But like, what was done? Nothing. They were left on their own, and that's kind of how I see it. Is like, people are on their own against their own government, and that's how it's got to be. And it's like, you got to fight on all angles you can. Our biggest fight is financial system, and that's how you get free, and you get clout, and you get leverage to fight. So I don't know, man. Like, people gotta get ready, because like, it's coming eventually. They are not gonna not fight this vector, right? So I mean, there already are. They're already putting fucking crypto founders in jail and shit.
Yeah, you made tons of different points right there. But to speak on the first point made with regards to them filming and stuff, any news that you see on Twitter or YouTube or the majority of what you Google is mainly all garbage because it's all censored, and you're never going to get the other side. And from the Russian perspective, it's also a lot of it is also censored. It just so happens that the West is just that much better at censoring and that much better at using propaganda to their advantage than the Russians are, which is kind of a shame because if Russians were good at it as the West is, they would actually be getting much more backup from their populations. But the bottom line is, you have real death that is happening right now, real death and destruction, and the conflict is real, but the image needs to be upheld, because if the image is not, if the image from the Western perspective on towards Ukraine is not that people are suffering, Russia is invading without any reason, um, Ukraine needs help, and if you don't have these fake images and fake propaganda going on, then the populations are not going to be so happy about the government sending money over there. So the Western populations, they need to see all this sorrow that they fake film, and then so they won't complain with their taxpayer money gets sent overseas. And even today, if you have some sort of pro-Russian perspective, even in the United States, you're already on the losing end compared to the majority. You're already like borderline anti-patriotic almost, you know, the same way that when they pushed the jabs and you were against the jab, you were anti-patriotic, anti-human, and all these weird concepts that they create in the media. Um, so yeah, the suffering is real. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that this is still a winning position for the West, especially the United States. It is a winning position for them because in their eyes, the conflict is not within their borders. It's overseas, and Russia is losing economic value. Russia is, if, from their perspective, it's basically just Ruskies killing Ruskies. It's not more than that. And after the Russians are done with the Ukrainians, they're probably just gonna stir up another conflict between the Polish and the Russians. They're gonna figure out something. And even if Russia wins, it's just gonna create a second Afghanistan on Russia's backyard, because they're gonna figure out a way to create terror attacks. They're gonna figure out a way to poison the rivers. They're gonna figure out something that is constantly gonna be conflict developed in that specific geographical area. And it's all very good from the Western perspective. I mean, it puts them at a higher level because it chokes out the economies of their enemies, and at the same time, it equals out the playing field, because the U.S. dollar has been sinking in value for so long, and now that there's conflict going on everywhere and everybody's values are sinking, the dollars is getting strength compared to everyone else, and at the same time, it's the US is forcing everybody into the dollar. I don't know what the exact reason is for this. We will find out in the future. But all these aspects, they might seem like bad, but they're really good for the US. Not so good for the Europeans, but good for the US. So I mean, looking at it from the US perspective, I can see that, you know, they're just deploying strategies that are beneficial for them. Have to be very, like, be able to not have any bias when it comes to this. I know who's right and wrong in this conflict. There is a right and wrong. It's not just that everyone is wrong or one is right. There is a right and a wrong. And even though the US is on the wrong side, morally speaking, but from a patriotic point of view, they're actually on the right side because they're doing stuff that is good for themselves. So I don't know if that makes sense, but you have to be able to disassociate your emotions from what's going on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because right now, if they can completely cancel out Russian resources being funneled into the European Union, then they will be able to ship resources from the US into the European Union. And that would create a dependence on the US from the European perspective. And the Europeans, they're sending in weapons, they're sending in ammunition, they're sending in finances. And the more that they deplete their military storage, the better it is again for the US, because the US will come in as a defender of these countries that have depleted their own military resources. Because what are they going to do tomorrow when they don't have stock? They basically sent everything to the conflict in Ukraine. And so the US gains again because it comes in and says, hey, man, you need military protection. Who's going to protect you? The US, of course, is going to protect them. So they're going to rely on that. They're going to force people, they're going to force European companies to come to the US if energy is going to be too expensive in the EU. So they're going to bring European business to the US, and then it's going to be export and import between these. It's going to increase the export and import between these two regions, which is also good for the US. So you see, it's all stacking up very good from the US perspective. What's going to happen within the United States? That's a different story. I don't know, because there's a lot of conflict brewing within. But from the outside perspective looking in, the US is doing pretty good globally. But internally, I think it's pretty bad for some reason. People, I see a lot of conflict brewing between people, their ideas.
Yeah, it's not so good here.
But yeah, make no mistakes. These people, they're professionals when it comes to conflicts and world war. It's knowledge and power has been passed on from generation to generation. And the people who are actually in control of all these calls, don't forget that they're professionals. Everything that happens for a very good reason. The general populations really find out about these reasons maybe 10 years after, 20 years after.
Yeah, it's when they start declassifying everything is when you find out. More so like 50 years or 40 years later.
Just think about this. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was all over the news at a specific point before the conflict in Ukraine. Try to remember when Joe Biden was walking around and saying Putin is a killer. Do you remember this? That was prior to the conflict. They already knew that this
Yeah,
conflict would happen. They're literally setting up the general psychology.
Were you heading into work, Jawa? How's the job going?